Hello everyone, Northeast Auditor here. I'm making this video in regards to an incident that occurred last night, October 30th, around 6 p.m. I proceeded to go to the Waterbury Police Department to do a First Amendment audit. I became privy of some information that they have not been respecting, photographers' rights. So around 6 p.m. I arrived on, close to the building. I walked down the main street towards the center of the building, the main entrance, and I made my way out in front. I was on public sidewalk the whole time. I walked right around there to start the audit. Continued down the front of the building. As you see right here, these are shots from Google Maps, completely publicly accessible, which is the comedic part when you guys hear the whole story. I walked more down, narrating the whole time, just taking general shots of anything I could see. Let it be the patrol vehicles coming in and out from the side street, or just general areas. They had an interesting lower level on one of their areas that said it was a youth division. I found kind of interesting, so I filmed that. What you see right here is the security cameras. I pointed the camera up at one point and narrated and said something to the effect of, "They're filming us. I hope they don't mind if we film them," which obviously they did mind. I made my way down the side street right here, as you're seeing, and this is the parking garage on the side of their building. I filmed here for probably no more than 30 seconds. I got a car coming in and out, and I also, filmed a little bit towards the garage. I was standing right there the entire time, never took a step forward into the garage, never walked in that walkway at all, just stayed on the sidewalk. At that point, I made my way back up north right here into the corner, and I stopped right around there in the front, and I was approached by two officers. They came out from the front of the building and they asked me what I was doing. I explained that I'm an independent journalist just getting some content for a story. They asked me, what is it about? What is it for? I told them, I'm not going to let you know. That's neither here nor there. I'm just getting some content, and I'm a journalist. At that point, they asked me for an ID. I asked them their names and badge numbers. Both gave them. They're both sergeants. At this point, I do not have that information. They ended up seizing my cell phone as well as the camera used for the audit, so I don't have any of that information right now. They're both sergeants, though. When they again asked for my ID, I said, "Can you articulate a crime that I've committed? In order to get my ID." At this point, they just basically said that I was suspicious and I was, filming the secured facility. To which I explained that's not a crime. And in order to get my ID, you need to articulate a crime that I've, been suspected of committing, or you've seen me commit, or you think I'm going to commit. Again, they went back to the, we don't need that. You were suspicious, and that's more than enough for us to get your ID. At this point, I told them I do not have an ID, and I'm not going to talk to them any further, and you don't have reasonable suspicion of me committing a crime, and I've done nothing, so I'm not going to give you my ID. At that point, I asked to speak to their supervisors. Both of them started to flank me. One come around the right, the other came around the left, and they, came in a very aggressive posture when I asked for supervisor. And then they quickly told me that they are the supervisors, and they wouldn't get anyone else, which I found out later was a lie. There was a lieutenant and a captain both available, neither of which were summoned, even though I asked them repeatedly to get someone. At this point, they told me, one last chance essentially to give me my information. I told them I didn't have my wallet. They asked me for my, information. I told them I would not give it. At this point, they decided to put me in handcuffs. They, took my camera, put it on the ledge right in front, and they proceeded again to ask me, what your name is, where are you from, the whole nine. I told them I'm not going to tell them anything. They rifled through my pockets, illegally detained me, illegally searched me. I told them I don't consent to any of this. They went through all my personal stuff. I asked them repeatedly, do not turn off the camera. I have no idea if they did or didn't. They walked over to it and looked like they were fumbling with it for a little while. At this point, another patrolman pulled up. They put me in his vehicle. After about 15-20 minutes, I ended up giving them my information as I was already sitting there. And they ended up getting my name anyway out of my pockets. I had a check with my name on it, which I forgot was there. So they ended up getting my information. I gave it to them after a certain amount of time, just figuring I'd expedite the process since they already had my name. I was assuming at that point they would probably just, send me on my way, and the sergeant, every time he came over, just got more and more hostile. And I explained to him that, you're making a really bad mistake here, and tread lightly, because you're completely violating my rights. I committed no crime. You had no reasonable articulate suspicion that I did anything wrong and that, you're going to be in a lot of trouble at this point. He got more and more hostile with me, and he started chuckling and said, "Don't worry, you're going to be with me for the next 4 hours," which held true in the end because I was there after they booked me arrested for around 4 hours. So around probably, I'd say, close to 7, they took me around back. They explained to me that I was being arrested for interference. I said, "What interference?" They said, "Because you refused to ID when we asked you." Now, mind you, Connecticut is not a stop and ID state. And then, once again, had no reasonable suspicion that I committed a crime. I was on public property, filming public buildings. Completely reasonable thing to do for a journalist. At this point, they took me in the back and they fingerprinted me and put me in a cell, mugshots, the whole nine. Finally, after what seemed like hours, I did get to speak to a higher up. At this point, Captain De Silva came down and I spoke to him at length. He, again, reiterated what his cronies essentially said, and he insisted to my face that they did have reasonable suspicion that I was, in breaking the law. To which I asked him what was the law that I broke, and he told me the same thing. Nothing. It was just suspicious. And he reiterated to me over and over and over again that if I just gave them my information, I wouldn't be here. And he didn't get the point that I didn't have to do that. I didn't have any legal any legal right to have to give him my information or give any of them my information. To which they booked me. I was in the holdings for about 3-4 hours. I finally asked what my bail was, and I was assuming I was going to get a promise to appear, considering I've never been arrested ever before, and this was such a minor thing. Go to find out, they gave me a $10,000 bond, which I found egregious. I asked the desk patrolman what was how was that set, and ironically enough, the sergeant on duty is the one who issued the bond amount. About 20 minutes later, so we're about 3.5 hours in, the bond commissioner shows up and he lowers it to a PTA, which I have now. My court date is on the 8th, and that's where we stand right now. They confiscated my cell phone. They confiscated my camera as evidence, which I'm pretty confident they're going to end up deleting the footage because they went ahead and lied to the bond commissioner. I spoke with him a little bit, and he said they informed him I walked into the garage, which is a complete lie. I did not do anything like that. They informed him that I told them that I had permission to be there, which was a lie. I never said anything like that. I just said I had a legal right to be there. It's the First Amendment of the Constitution. So if anyone wants to help out, I would really, really appreciate it. You can reach out to the Waterbury PD. If you want, you can reach out to, I'll give you his name. I'll actually include it in the link below of who you need to speak to. But the gist of it is that they have no legal right to do this, obviously. And I'm going to fight this to the fullest, let it be obviously getting these criminal charges dropped as well as civilly later on, because I was, arrested for the first time in my life, never did anything wrong, never committed a crime, never did anything, and I was a guy they didn't like that day, and I was filming outside their police station, and they didn't like it.